Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. This video is sponsored by Melissa. Melissa, thank you very much for your donation to the channel. Wow, the global narrative has certainly changed. Over and over again, I'm hearing we are in a spiritual war. Humanity is in crisis and we are in a spiritual war. And I want to talk about that today. I think we'd all agree there are countless similarities between narcissists and their hive mind, but I have recognized there are extreme similarities between all of us, and I think the one most glaring similarity that we all seem to share is not only were we jarred awake to narcissistic abuse in our own lives on a domestic level, but we have, so many of us have been absolutely jarred awake to the very real crisis humanity is in, to very, very real conditions that need to be talked about and eradicated. Clearly, we woke up to a world flipped upside down. The comments are really, really typical at this type of collective as victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse start to find each other. There are a couple of things that people want answers to. Why me? That's a really, really common question. Why me? What was it about me that allowed this to happen? Now, I think we've all concluded that empaths, light workers, earth angels are primarily targeted. And I've always believed that that was to gaslight us, to confuse us, to redirect our thinking, and to completely distract us from the work that needs to be done to turn this shit show around. Another comment I hear over and over again is comments like nothing happens by chance, everything happens for a reason, there's a purpose behind all of this. So let's go with that. Let's go with that premise. Let's go with the idea that we were all intentionally targeted because we belong to a group of empaths. Empaths, light workers, earth angels, truth tellers, whatever you want to call compassionate, empathetic, and kind people were specifically targeted, removed from that whole social scene, drawn into a place of isolation. Let's just call it what it is. We were tortured, right? We were absolutely tortured by domestic demons on a domestic level that infiltrated our minds, our souls, our spirits, our hearts, our homes, our beds. We were tortured. Okay, so now all of a sudden this huge group of empaths is tortured, jarred awake, not just to the reality of their own situation, but to this bizarre global condition that truly needs empathy and compassion poured on it. This condition truly needs a vibration raised. And where was our vibration? I'll tell you where mine was. It was absolutely sub-zero done. I was incapacitated. I certainly wasn't raising my vibration. I certainly wasn't out there sharing love, compassion, and empathy with my fellow man. I was in a horrendous state of utter demise. So here we find ourselves jarred awake to things we would have otherwise been unaware of. Now, we've always been able to see the army of evil. If you want to put this in the perspective of a spiritual war, we've always been able to see the armies of evil. They've always been clearly defined for us, be it government, poor legislation and laws, whether we're looking at it at Monsanto and the takeover of the global food supply, or Nestle and the takeover of the global water supply. By the way, two companies whose products I have boycotted for the last 10 years. Now, when you start looking out, you can clearly see the armies of evil. Well, how do you fight a spiritual war with these glaring armies of evil? Where is the resistance? Where is the army that's going to stand in defiance to this shit? And you most certainly could say nothing has happened by chance. My God, look how quickly collectives of victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse have grown. I mean, there's Facebook pages with 30,000+ members. It's just growing in leaps and bounds and multiplying, and information is being exchanged, and people are helping each other, and meetups are being established all over the world, and victims and survivors are finding each other. They're finding each other, and they are forming the army that will be the resistance in this spiritual war. Another aspect of being a victim of narcissistic abuse myself that's really changed me, I think, over my lifetime. You know, my dad died when I was a kid. My husband died when my children were very young. I have been on my own for the better part of my life from a very young age. And in addition to that, I too, like so many of you, did you guys see that orb? So many of you have woken up to the fact that I very likely have been a victim of narcissistic abuse most of my life. Now, with all of that said, one of the biggest changes for me is I'm now fearless. With all of the conditions and circumstances throughout my lifetime, my father dying as a kid, losing my husband when my children were very young, the responsibility of raising 5 young sons on my own, all of that truly did make me a fearful person. I was afraid all the time. I am jumpy by nature, and rightfully so. But I'll tell you what I am today. I'm absolutely fearless. I'm fucking fearless. I'm not afraid of anything or anyone. And I do believe when absolute evil infiltrates your life, your soul, your dinner table, your home, your bed, you know, when that evil thing is hovering around your Christmas tree and showering in the same place you do, you know, that's pretty serious infiltration. And the fear associated with that for me was overwhelming. And when I woke up, the fear was just gone for me. Like, I'm just not afraid anymore. So I believe as a resistance army, we are, as a collective, very, very brave. Since waking up, starting the channel, and finding you guys, my fear level has absolutely been diminished. And yes, here at the channel, we have been attacked by narcs. I am currently being stalked by a narc smear campaign. But I'll tell you what, hey narcs, I'm not afraid. Bring it on. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. Whatever that horrendous event with Trevor triggered in me or changed in me or woke up in me, it diminished my fear. So I do believe, as a warrior, as a member of the resistance to the global evil, I consider myself a fairly valuable ally to my fellow survivors and victims. And as we've all come to know each other, I think it's safe to say the same can be said for each and every one of you. Now, if you're still feeling a little frightened, maybe a lot frightened, terrified or terrorized, and very insecure, don't worry, this too is going to change. This is that lingering aspect of this abuse, but trust me, it gets better every day. And as it gets better, we get stronger. And yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The collective is growing in such leaps and bounds, it's really hard to even keep up. So many victims and survivors are finding their way to these collectives and groups and finding the support that they need from their fellow victims. Now, with that said, guys, we've had really good response to the website. And as you know, this website is to be an international resource library for victims of narcissistic abuse. I do believe we have some friends here from the channel taking the lead from Italy, Norway, Sweden, and India. So with that said, if you are from any of those 4 countries, yes, those leads could need help. If you are from a country other than those, we certainly need people from your country. So if you'd like to help out with the website, or would just like to contribute your artwork, stories, or things like that, please email me at kimwilsontv@gmail.com. In addition, that website has a Facebook page, and though the website's still under construction, the Facebook page has been launched. So I'm going to leave a link, so please, after watching this video, scoot over to the Facebook page and register. Your support would be greatly appreciated. more exposure, the more victims that will find our groups and collectives and get free. Guys, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you guys are having a great narc-free day. Peace be with you all.